On Larry King Now, Beverly Johnson.
So I'm like, what is this thing? What's this model thing? So they grabbed a magazine, they said, this is a model. She makes $75 an hour. My father made $75 a week as a steel laborer. I said, for standing there with her hands on her hip?
On breaking barriers as the first black woman to make the cover of Vogue.
I was 21 or 22. I lie so much I don't remember. So you can imagine how wonderfully surprised I was when when I got the call from Wilhelmina saying, you're on the cover. I'm like, the cover of what? I can remember, I really get excited today. It was a defining moment in my life.
On her experience with Bill Cosby.
It was, immediate. As soon as I took the first sip, I knew.
Plus, you write openly about your relationship with my friend Mike Tyson, right?
Yes.
He was much younger than you, wasn't he?
Yes.
Not much younger.
No, he was much younger. I was a cougar, before cougar was in style.
It's all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Our special guest, Beverly Johnson. Her face has graced the cover of more than 500 magazines. But it was her first that made history back in 1974, the first black woman to be on the cover of American Vogue. Named one of the 20th century's 100 most influential people in the fashion industry by the New York Times, Beverly's modeling career spanned 3 decades. She's written multiple books and has her own line of hair extensions and handbags. Beverly's memoir, The Face That Changed It All, is available now. What took so long to write a memoir? You've written other things. Why now a memoir?
I was trying to get old, so once I turned 60, I said, okay, I think I have something to say.
So finally.
Finally.
This is your story.
Yes, it is.
Take me back to that first Vogue cover. How did you get that cover?
Well, so I started modeling in 1970, 71. And it's every model's dream to be on the cover of Vogue magazine. I had been on a lot of covers, Glamour magazine and international magazines. And I wanted the Vogue magazine cover. So I went to Eileen Ford, the late, great Eileen Ford, and I had my list of things that I wanted. I wanted to do a beauty book. I wanted, cosmetic contract. I wanted to be on the cover of Vogue. She said, you'll never be on the cover of Vogue.
Because they didn't do black women?
Well, she didn't give me a reason. I just made a mental note of that because she was a straight shooter. So I left Eileen Ford in good graces, it's just a business decision, and if I ever, want to come back, hopefully you'll welcome me back. And I went to Wilhelmina Models, and Wilhelmina and the powers that be and the earth pivoted in the right way, and then boom, I got the cover.
You were how old?
I was 21 or 22. I lie so much I don't remember. I can't.
Where did you grow up?
Buffalo, New York.
How did you get to be the first cover? How did you get your first cover?
Well, the thing is, Larry, I never wanted to be a model. I wanted to be a lawyer. I was a competitive swimmer as a kid, really studious, and everyone in my family you had to go to college. So that wasn't an option. And I loved school. I was one of those kind of freaky kids that loved school. I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning. And so I wanted to be a lawyer. It just was like a freak of nature that I didn't have a summer job teaching swimming at the Roxbury YWCA because I went to Northeastern University and making $28 a week. And my girlfriends that went to college there were from New York City. They said, why don't you become a model? And I was like, what is this modeling thing? Because I had heard about it at this fashion boutique that my mother made me work at the summer before I went to college, because I didn't have any clothes. I only had sweats and things like that. So this woman, Mimi, was always talking about being a model and this. I thought she was a little, because I was going to be a lawyer. So I'm like, what is this thing? What's this model thing? So they grabbed a magazine. They said, this is a model. She makes $75 an hour. My father made $75 a week as a steel laborer. I said, for standing there with her hands on her hip? She said, yes. I said, oh, I got that piece of paper that Mimi gave me from the Ginny shop. And then I had to convince my father that it wasn't a streetwalker that I wanted to become in New York City. And my mother came there, and the rest is history.
But you starved yourself as a young woman.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm a quick study. I wanted to know who the great photographers were, makeup artists, hairstylists. I wanted to work with designers. And one of the things I learned was that you had to be thin. And, I was like, normal, I was a thin girl anyways, but I realized that that was like a big component because they kept talking about cheekbones and losing the baby fat. So I said, okay, I have to lose weight. So what puts on weight? Food. Okay, don't eat. And the models, back in my day, we didn't eat. We didn't drink water. I was everything. And, as the years go on, because what happens is that when you're young, 17, 18, 19, 20, you can remain thin. But after a while, you grow up and you mature as a woman, and so now you're trying to keep that same teenage body. That's where the danger comes in. Was black a hurdle? Well, what happened was we had just come out of the civil rights in the 60s. So there were more black models in the 70s than there are today. We had black modeling agencies. We were like, we have overcome, We're in. It was just like, wow, we arrived, black exploitation films. we were, but it was all, a facade, so to speak. So I rose to the top of the modeling industry, but not only as a black model, but as a model, period. When Vogue finally said yes, is that the back page? Yes. That was the cover? Yes. You're in your 20s, right? Yes. And what did they want you? They want you to wear this scarf, or they? Well, what happened was this was a shoot with Francesco Scavullo, a very famous photographer. I know Scavullo. Yes. He shot my wife. Yes. Yes. He shot my Scavullo. He died. Yes, he did. He was a nice guy. Wonderful man. Wonderful man. And yes, and the stylist, she must have tied that scarf 100 times. My neck was raw by the time she kept yanking it off and tying it again and yanking it. But I didn't know I was doing a photo for the cover of the book. I just knew I was doing a shoot for Vogue magazine. So you can imagine how wonderfully surprised I was when when I got the call from Wilhelmina saying, "You're on the cover." I'm like, the cover of what? I can remember. I get excited today. It was a defining moment in my life. You did drugs before that? Oh yeah. Well, we came up in the 60s, and I remember trying to not get my mother to try a little marijuana, but we were kids, we were experimenting, and then when we came to New York and then New York City, and that was the decade of a lot of excess, and particularly cocaine, because what cocaine did was, first of all, it wasn't addictive. Back then, they said it wasn't addictive. They said that it increased your intelligence, it kills your appetite, it makes your eyes nice and white. It's an elitist drug. It costs a lot of money. You have all these beautiful little crystal bottles and paraphernalia to do it with. And so, for the modeling industry, that was like, hey, the secret sauce. She's been called the Jackie Robinson of modeling. Up next, Beverly Johnson shares her painful personal story about Bill Cosby. The book is The Face That Changed It All. Stay with us. We're back with Beverly Johnson. Extraordinary story. The Face That Changed It All, her memoir that tells it all, with a foreword by Andre Leon Talley. Yes. And she wrote it with Allison Samuels. That's correct. It's great to have her with us. All right, we have to get into the Bill Cosby story. Why did you come forward about that? Well, what happened was when I said I was going to do my memoirs, I was going to be very candid and very transparent. Otherwise, why do a memoir? So I did the big reveal. We started this book in 2013. I was working with a writer by the name of Allison Samuels, who was a very famous journalist. Also, she did the First Lady's book, what Michelle Obama do. And so I told her my story. She wasn't surprised because as a journalist, she had heard these things before. We turned the chapter in to our publisher, and they said, thank you, but no thank you. This is a legal liability. So I wasn't surprised or anything. So I had finally told my story after all these years. And then what happened was in December, I decided to do my Vanity Fair article after I saw these women coming out with the same story that I had, but unfortunately, I was not raped. I got out of there by the grace of God. And I decided that, I needed to tell my story.
So now the book allowed it to go in?
So, after all of that, the book is closed and everything, I get a call from the publisher that said, you know that chapter on Cosby, we like to put it in now.
Gutsy.
Yes, but that's indicative of what we've been saying all along. We're trying to tell our story, but nobody wanted to hear it.
You weren't raped. What happened? Where were you? What happened?
Well, what happened was, and it's well documented, that I had, gone to the studio a couple of times to watch the Cosby Show. I brought my daughter. We watched the taping. I took my daughter to the Brownstone one time. We had breakfast. My daughter was maybe 9 years old at the time. We met family members, the art collection, the wonderful Brownstone. And then on the fourth visit, where we were supposed to actually rehearse.
You were going to be on the show?
I was going to be on the show, maybe a reoccurring role of the sister, blah, 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 blah. And then the cappuccino.
You were alone with him in his house, and he.
Well, we had a little meal before, so there were staff there. So I mean, they weren't. I didn't see them when this acting exercise started to begin, and then the offer of this drink, the cappuccino, and it was immediate. As soon as I took the first sip, I knew, and then I took a second sip, and it was like I was so disappointed. I was like, it was like, where do I go before I pass out? Where can I go safely before? Before that, I looked him dead in the eye and just called him, a number of names, and I got louder and louder and louder and louder, and I just became more belligerent and more belligerent, and I was so disappointed. I was so irate. I was like, he had to get me out of there.
What do you make of it?
I don't make anything of it. I think that, it happened.
Why would you guess someone that successful would need cappuccino?
I don't know.
But you guess.
I'm not a doctor. I really don't know. All I know is that I was very, very disappointed. I was so angry, and when I finally recuperated, I tried to call him and confront him. And also, needless to say, I didn't get the role. But it was just something that was there. I mean, it was so callous. It was so, it was scary. It was terrifying.
You fled.
I fled. Some people freeze and some people flee.
Now, Whoopi Goldberg was rough on you on The View, right?
People said that. I didn't find that she was rough. I thought that she was asking questions that probably a lot of other people were asking, and so this gave me a chance to answer those kind of questions. And I like Whoopi very much, and I respect her very much, and I respect.
You're very candid. So you
Yes.
write openly about your relationship with my friend Mike Tyson, right?
Yes.
With him, you had a relationship.
Yes. What do you mean? Yes.
You had a physical relationship.
Yes.
He was much younger than you, wasn't he?
Yes.
Not much younger, huh?
No, he was much younger. I was a cougar before cougar was in style.
How did that end?
How did that end? Oh, well, it wasn't really very realistic, to begin with. But I did get a chance to meet his family and know who he was, and so on and so forth. And I think I introduced him to Naomi Campbell. But anyways, things, introduced him to the jet set.
He's a good guy, Mike, isn't he?
Yes.
There's two sides to him. But,
yeah, he made some mistakes, and he paid for them.
but the good side of Mike is a very good side.
Yeah, well, he
He's
picked
funny.
himself up. Yes, very funny. Very funny.
Coming up, Beverly on mentoring fellow models Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks, and why she didn't want her daughter to pursue the career. We'll be right back. The book, The Face That Changed It All. We're back with Beverly Johnson, her new book, The Face That Changed It All, her memoir. Finally, her memoir. What makes a great model?
I don't know. I think it's a combination of things. And I really believe that it has a lot to do with, the magic, the it factor. I think that, one has to be, a certain height. And, models have a certain kind of build, so many inches from the shoulder to the waist, so, because it's a model. Height. And
So you can't be a 5'3" model.
well, yeah, you can. A 5'3"
Smaller
model. Yeah.
You're over 60 years old.
Yes, I'm 60 years old, but this memoir is my childhood, the 70s and 80s. So you have to stay tuned to part 2.
Part 2, and when is that coming?
Soon as I get it together. But it's as racy as part 1. I don't know how that happens. I don't know if everyone's life is like this.
How did you get into hair extension? My wife had a hair extension business.
Yes.
She invented part of it.
Yes.
Years ago, she did an infomercial with Priscilla Presley.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember
and
that.
you're in the hair extension business?
Well, what happened was in 1996, I believe, a Korean company came to me and were speaking to me about wigs and hair extensions. This is before I even wore wigs and hair extensions. And of course, everybody said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. That's why I did it. And it was a little $300,000 company. We went to like a $40 million company, retail in 3 years, and I had a 14-year contract with this company, a licensing deal.
Still do it?
Which, well, I decided that I wanted to go into business for myself. That was one of the things that I was always afraid of because I don't have my MBA and I thought that was something I couldn't do. And so I decided to take a leap of faith and face that fear right in the face and go into business for myself. I don't know what I was thinking because it's really hard, but I'm enjoying the process.
You have handbags too, huh?
I have handbags. Hopefully this is going to be a miniseries or a movie. Then we have the next book coming out. You know, there's a television show. You know, I did an executive producer on the Oprah Winfrey Network, Beverly's Full House. You know, there's no such thing as retirement. You're living proof of that.
You're damn right.
You know what I mean? I mean, you look great, you sound great, and you know what, Larry, I feel that you're enjoying what you do.
I love it.
You know, like you're really into me.
I don't know what I would... Oh, Beverly.
No, but you know what I mean. I mean, to be a good host, you have to be interested in people.
Correct. You have to listen. You have to care.
You have to listen. You have to care. And that's what I found about Oprah Winfrey when I first met Oprah. And this was before she was Oprah. She was trying to get an interview with me, you know, because I was this big, you know, hot shot model. And I told her after that interview, I said, you're going to go far. Because she was so much like you, really interested in people.
Your daughter, you didn't want to model?
No, I did not.
What does she do?
My daughter went and got her MBA, and she has 3 grandchildren and married, and she wants to go back to being, she was a plus-size model. It's so interesting. She decided, of course, she graduates 2 years early from high school. She's going to be just straight-size model. Everything I don't want her to be. She goes to New York, she loses all this weight, she faints in the elevator, she calls me up and she says, Mom, guess what? You're pregnant. No, not that, Mom. I don't want anybody to ever tell me how I should ever look again. I was like, whoa, she's 18 years old. It took me to 40 years old to get to that point. So anyway, so she goes and she gets her BA, she gets her MBA, and then she says, Mom, guess what? Oh, no, you're pregnant. No, Mom, I'm not pregnant. I want to be a plus-size model. And I'm like, well, that's very interesting. I was curious as to why. She says, I want people to embrace who they are. And she became the top 10 plus-size model in the world. I'm so proud of her. I raised her. Well, we raised her.
How's she doing now?
She's great. She's got my 3 grandchildren, you know, 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a wonderful husband.
Are you with someone?
Yes, I am. I am with a nerd. And
he's
a business investment banker, and he's very successful in his own right, and nerds are really wonderful.
So you're in love with a nerd?
Yes, I am. One nerd to another nerd, I guess it's... And also, he's the oldest man I've ever dated, and I'm the oldest woman he ever dated. In other words, we're the same age.
Now, you mentored other models, Naomi Campbell and Tyra Banks. How do you mentor a model?
Well, what happens is that, you know, I stayed around a long time in the modeling industry because the money was too good. You know what I mean? You're getting $10,000 a day. Why am I retiring? You know, let me reinvent myself to get some of this money right up with these, you know, the little young kids coming up. So Naomi Campbell and Tyra, I used to drive my little Mercedes around. You know, I'm the hot shot. And I would take them in my car and drive them to, and then they would complain about this and this photographer. And it was so cute. And so just over the years, I've just had this wonderful rapport with all of the models that are coming up behind me because I'm around. I don't go away. You know, even now I'm still in the beauty business, so I'm there. I don't go away. But you know, I just find it, you know, really interesting because Tyra, when she had her show, she always had me on her show. Oprah Winfrey had me on the show 12 times. Naomi Campbell has always been so generous and gracious. And my predecessor was Naomi Sims, which I do a chapter on her, because she showed me how to be gracious to those that are coming up behind. And I always remember that because she was this great beauty in the industry, and I didn't realize why she got out so quickly, but she became a businesswoman. I pulled my hair back like her. She was my role model. So I wanted to be that for the girls that are coming up behind me.
You're a great lady.
Thank you.
The book, The Face That Changed It All, is out now. Don't go away. We're back with Beverly Johnson. Her book is The Face That Changed It All, her memoir. We have a black president.
Yes.
We've come a long way, but we have a white supremacist who goes on a killing spree in a black church all at the same time. Let's hear a look at race relations in the United States in 2015.
I think that it is about time that we're having a very honest, frank conversation about race. Finally, no one's in denial about what happened, 200 years ago. I was just, the driver that just drove us over today said his grandfather, not his great grandfather, was a slave, And so that we can trace our history, we can face up to what happened in the United States, and so that we can move on. And I think that, it's a great time. It's really a great time in America to be talking about race, to be talking about violence against women, to be talking about gender. I mean, I think, as a country, have really evolved.
But bad things still happen.
Bad things still happen, and unfortunately, I think that bad things will always happen.
Are you supporting anyone for the presidency?
Yes, I am.
And who is that?
Guess.
Hillary. Funny, I had that feeling. We have some social media questions for you. Mary Alice on Facebook. What are your top 3 beauty secrets for women over 50?
Okay, number 1, take care of yourself. As women, we always take care of everyone else. We have elder parents, then we have our kids that come back home all of a sudden, or the grandkids, and we put ourselves second in the way of our health, in the way of our looks, and we overextend ourselves. You have to make a priority and put yourself first, which is very difficult to do. 2, you have to be happy, meaning that if you have to do some house cleaning, then that's exactly what you have to do. Life is short. Peace of mind is everything. 3, keep your friends close and your plastic surgeons closer. Okay?
Okay, got it.
There are my 3.
How long does it take you to get made up for dinner?
For dinner? Not long. Not long at all. I really...
You're going out to
a big affair?
Black tie event.
Oh, I'll have a girl come in and do my makeup. Okay. Yes.
Bobby Nelson.
Carmisha Little, my
Bobby
makeup
Nelson on Facebook.
Yes.
Why do you think it is that despite the rampant animal cruelty in the fur trade, there are still women in the fashion world who insist on wearing fur?
Yes, good habits die hard. I mean, so it's sort of like the whole imaging thing. We know that we don't want to put out bad images for women, super skinny images. And so we're trying to, catch on to the fact that these animals, and I saw a film and it's like...
Kill you.
It's horrific. But, there were a lot of designers back in the day that said they would never design a line for a plus-size woman, never. Well, the bottom line is they're designing lines for plus-size. So be a little patient with us.
All right. We finished the game with a game of If You Only Knew. I just throw some questions at you.
Okay.
Who's the first boy you ever kissed?
I don't remember his name, but because he cheated on me with my best friend, but...
Well, wait a minute. How old were you?
I think I was about 17.
That was the first kiss, 17?
If you knew my father, you would say yes. That's the first time.
Okay.
Yes.
The last time you cried?
Oh, about 3 days ago. Yes.
Something sad happened?
Yes. September 9th was my big book launch in New York City, and you know the whole thing. Chico Salamander it was a big deal, and my mother, who has Alzheimer's, came, and we walked the red carpet together, and she's going. They said, over this way, turn this way, and
Alzheimer's is tough.
right.
Childhood celebrity crush.
The Beatles. My older sister had Paul McCartney. My younger sister had John Lennon. I had George Harrison.
Best money you ever spent.
The best money I've ever spent was in Tiffany for Elsa Peretti, Diamonds by the Yard.
You bought them for yourself?
Oh, yes.
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure is the mini bar in the hotel with Tricks and Snicker bars.
Tricks.
At night, by myself,
Tricks.
in the bed, eating candy till you pass out.
Who never fails to make you laugh?
Oh. I have a girlfriend named Deborah Gregory. We call her Mama Chita, Deborita, and she's the creator of the Cheetah Girls. She's hilarious, you know, she's hilarious.
What characteristic do you value most in other people?
Honesty.
What makes you angry?
It takes a lot to make me angry.
Does?
Yes.
What other models do you most admire?
I admire any woman that can go that long without eating a Big Mac.
If you weren't a model and an entrepreneur, what would you be?
I'd be a lawyer. I'd be a judge. Supreme
What's
Court
something
judge.
you long believed to be true that you realize isn't?
Retirement. I thought that was true. I thought that was, you know, the big pie in the sky, and it's not.
And tell me something people don't know about you.
They don't know about me, period. People think they know me because I've been around a long time, but they will find, once they read this book, that they don't know me at all.
You want to know her? Thank you, Beverly.
Thank you.
Thanks to my guest, Beverly Johnson. The Face That Changed It All is available now. Remember, you can find me on Twitter at Kingstings. I'll see you next time.